morning, and thank you so much for joining us on this episode of SBB University. I am your host, moderator, and publisher of Seniors Blue Book, Amanda Barton. Really excited today to bring on this dynamic panel of ladies and gentlemen. Today, we're going to be talking about avoiding caregiver burnout. So I'm just going to go around and introduce each of our panelists, ask them to tell us a little bit about themselves and what got them into the field that they're in today. So first on the docket, we have Miss Lisa Marie Swiatkowski. How are you this morning, Lisa Marie?
I'm good. Thank you for having me today.
Absolutely. Thank you for being on the show. So tell me a little bit about yourself and what brought you into the world of home care now that you are with BrightStar Care.
I've been in the healthcare industry since I was 16, believe it or not.
Wow.
So my whole career has been in healthcare. I initially thought I was going to be a marine biologist, but my brother got hit by a drunk driver and I saw the nurses come in and out. So when I turned 16, I went down the street, got a job in a nursing home and have been in it ever since.
Wow.
So I've been everywhere from the hospital to urgent care centers to facilities, kind of all around. But I've really found my true love in home care. And part of that is it goes back to why I went into nursing to begin with, that you really get to bond with people. You feel like you're making a difference in their lives literally every day. And that's really why I wanted to become a nurse from the beginning. So my husband and I have owned BrightStar for almost 6 years. I was the director of nursing for another BrightStar prior to us purchasing ours. So we do own Venice and Port Charlotte. So our territory goes from Sarasota all the way down to Punta Gorda and out to Arcadia. So it's a pretty big area.
Yes, it is. Absolutely.
That's a little bit about me.
Yeah, absolutely. So you and your husband run it together. That's pretty awesome.
We do. Yeah. I do the clinical piece and he semi-retired from the insurance industry. So he handles all the business stuff.
Very good. Well, it's nice to know the folks behind the scenes. So thank you for telling me a little bit about your history. And I love doing these because you really get to know people's why. You know, your why is because of what happened with your brother, and it really shows that being a nurse is something that's true to you and it runs deep in your soul. So thank you for sharing your story. All right, next on the docket we have Susan Belesi.
Belesi. That's it, Belesi. Thank you so much for having us. I am the program director and I am the member relation director here at Parkinson Place in Sarasota. How I came to be here was my husband has been onset Parkinson's for 20 years. Wow. And we lived our whole life up in Queens, New York. And I went all over the place trying to get him the correct services that he needs, and I could not find them in one spot. I could drive to parts of Manhattan. I was driving to Long Island. I was driving everywhere after working full time, and it was just becoming a challenge and raising children and other family members. So I had to come up with an easier way for us. And one day I went home and I Googled things for Parkinson's, and up came Parkinson Place here in Sarasota, who said they had free programs, educational exercise, all the needs for people with Parkinson's. So I called up my daughter and I said, we're going to take a trip. It's either we're going to be on the beach or we're going to be working. So we went on, came off the plane, went to Parkinson Place and saw this fabulous facility and wonderful teacher who was teaching a class, and I just turned around and I was like, well, this is a no-brainer. We're here in this beautiful spot. He's going to get everything he needs, and everything here is at no cost. Where up in New York, I was paying co-pays for everything that he did, and it was becoming a small mortgage every month. So, and also it was hard with the weather, cold up there, snow. He was isolated in the house. So anyhow, we came down here, we took a leap of faith by ourselves, and we moved down here. And he started here 5 years ago, and he just got stronger and healthier and happier. And 3 years ago, I then got a job working at Parkinson Place. So it kind of just went together, and wow. It was definitely a journey, and we're so happy to be down here and be part of this organization.
Yeah, the serendipity of that is so fantastic that it inspired your move. A place like that could inspire you to move to a location that's so beautiful, and the serendipity of you going to work for them and having that true passion is awesome. So very lucky to have you there, and very lucky to have you as a partner with Seniors Blue Book. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Last but certainly not least, we have Mr. Michael Finn. I told you I'd screw up your last name. And you are a really new, exciting piece of the puzzle here with Town Square. So tell me exactly what your background is and what Town Square is, because it's coming soon, huh?
Definitely new. So I spent the last 25 years in New York City in the television industry, in the advertising side of the television industry. So I am an absolute outsider that left that business in 2019. And my wife and I wanted to do something entrepreneurial, and we wanted to get out of the New York area. I had a bunch of business opportunities that were pitched to me, and one of them just kind of clicked. Mm-hmm. And it was this concept of Town Square, which was a new franchise at the time that was kind of pitching these big facilities that were going to be senior daycare centers modeled after 1950s Main Streets, ability to help a lot of folks. And the reason it clicked with me is a very random thing. My mom was a singer her whole life in nightclubs back in the 40s and 50s, and then ultimately in church through most of our life. And I remember her telling me for years how she would sing in Alzheimer's homes. And whenever she sang there, she would always kind of share kind of how powerful that experience was, because while they may be struggling with a lot of memory issues, they would know every word to the song, right? So for some reason that stuck in my brain for 20 years. So when the concept was pitched to me, I'm like, oh, I get it. This kind of reminiscence centric environment, but with some great programming. So I went out to San Diego, California, where the first one was built by a researcher out in San Diego.
Oh, cool.
And I met and during that day, I met a bunch of other potential franchisees, and it was this, it's this beautiful 12,000 square foot facility with probably 100 senior citizens there that day, many struggling with memory issues or other dementia issues. And the entire place looked like a 1950s Main Street with a theater and a diner and a library and a city hall and a 1950s car sitting in the middle and a park, and there's music, and it was really an engaging environment. And then we went out to dinner that night with all the franchisees and the head of the franchise. And I sat across from a woman named Wendy Rickenbach and her husband, Trey Barclay, who she owns a company called Care Patrol here in Sarasota. And they were looking at this as well. And we kind of connected, and she kind of told me, it was really powerful. She told me how when she walked into Town Square that day, she just burst into tears. She burst into tears because she knew that finally she could imagine families really knowing that they're dropping their loved ones in a really amazing environment where they're not only going to be cared for, but where they're going to be engaged all day. And that really stuck with me. So we kind of went our separate ways. She came back to Sarasota. My wife and I moved our family to St. Louis, Missouri, which is where my wife is from. And COVID turned our plans to build one in St. Louis upside down. And Wendy called me in the middle of the pandemic and said, "How you doing? Mm-hmm. This is all crazy. Do you want to move your family to Sarasota and be my business partner?" Which was a really crazy thing last April. And we packed up the car, moved to Sarasota, and Wendy and I are now committed to building 3 of these town squares down the Gulf Coast. The first one's going to be in Sarasota. And we kind of have the territory from Sarasota all the way down to Naples. So Wonderful. We think we're going to build a couple more. We're just starting construction now, and it's going to be just like that San Diego operation. They never told me how early I was in the franchise life cycle. Mm-hmm. We will end up opening only the second one as we kind of get going here this summer. So sorry, that's a long story, but
it's a good one. It
was a circuitous route to get here.
Yes. And it's such a needed service. It really is. to provide that respite and that break for caregivers. So I'm excited to loop back around with your questions. We're going to start with Lisa Marie. Lisa Marie, when people need that break, that in-home care break, there's often a misconception between the differences of what is paid for by Medicare, what you have to pay privately. Tell me the difference between a Medicare certified home care company and a private pay company like yourself.
Well, some of the biggest, I guess, confusion and differences is typically with Medicare home health, it's a very temporary kind of service. So a lot of times the people are coming out of the hospital, they'll go home with maybe some IV therapy or some wound care, or maybe some like physical therapy or occupational therapy. But typically it's going to be a very short-term skilled service that they're going to have. So that's kind of what Medicare home health does. We're on the private side, so we do private duty home care. We're a little unusual because we do also offer skilled services. But typically what we see is more people that need long-term care. So maybe long-term medication management, where we go out and we have our nurses set up their medication boxes, and then the caregivers do med reminders, or a lot of what we do is personal care and respite. So you were talking about people that need help, like, you know, what are they looking for, and kind of what those services look like. So we do anything from companion services. So that could be light duty housekeeping, transportation, but also personal care services. Mm-hmm. And it's all private pay, private care is how that works. But we also have, you know, nurses that can go out and assist as well.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys do actually cover a lot of those arenas. And I think that it's important to note that the companies, Medicare certified home care companies, home health care companies, we all work together to fill in those gaps. So what you need, those certifications that you need with the Medicare, you can come in and actually supplement, especially your agency, because you do provide that skilled service. So it really sets you apart from some of your competitors, in my opinion.
Well, we do a lot of continuity of care. So what we do too is we work with Medicare agencies. So they'll contact us and say, okay, you know, we have to transition out of this client in the next week or two, or whenever it's going to happen. Can you go ahead and set care up? So once they have to transition out, Medicare will no longer pay for the service, we can then send people in, and it works really well because it's usually very seamless, where we can kind of come right in and take over where they're leaving off. Lately, we've seen some wound care that the secondary insurances will only pay certain number of visits. The wound may not be healed, or maybe they start having some other issues and the insurance company will not pay anymore.
Right.
So we're even starting to see issues like that we hadn't seen in the past. So
well,
that's
a good thing that there's that special layer of services that you guys provide that can make it where, you know, if somebody is in a crisis like that, they don't have to panic. And it's really good to educate all of the home care agencies out there that are Medicare certified that you're able to do those services, because people don't know what they don't know. So thank you, Lisa Marie. That's perfect. All right, we're going to bounce over to Susan. Susan, talk to me about some of the services that you guys provide that can give caregivers of Parkinsonians a break.
So every Wednesday morning at 10 o'clock, we have a caregiver support group. When we're open, which we're hoping will be by next month, music therapy will be going on the same time. So their loved one can go to music therapy while the caregiver can be in support group. Mm-hmm. Also, like last night we had it was great. We have once a month what's called Getting to Know Us, where we don't talk about Parkinson's, we don't talk about anything except about us, because I realize what an amazing group of people we have, men and women, and we don't get to hear what they are. What did they do for a living? What do they do now? What's their favorite hobbies, recipes, photos, just about them. So last night, you know, we were on for like 2 hours just talking, and it just is like a moment that we really all enjoy. And, just being with each other, and then we get to see each other. There's a whole group that actually goes kayaking together. They get, yeah, it's really cool. One day I'll get there when I'm not working. They go into Sarasota Bay, and they all get, if their loved one needs it, they set up having care, give some type of care in their home for their loved one. And they all meet at 8:30 in the morning, and they go out and they enjoy their kayak. So it's their moment. And if it wasn't for this group, that kayak group would not have been formed. And, we just meet, outside. And it's just, again, just talking about what you're going through, that just gives comfort, because someone has a solution for something. And this disease is a long-term, progressive disease. Like myself, we're 20 years into this. Well, if someone in 5 years needs a little help with, has a question about a doctor or something that they're experiencing, there's always a whole group of people that can help them. And that is the best support, is just being there for one another. I don't know what I would do without this group of amazing people. And when I was up in New York, we didn't have any support groups. There was one for young onset, and it was once a month, and it was 7:30 at night, and that just didn't happen with young children and everything else. And then the other ones were during the day, and they just didn't fit our mold. So to come down here and experience a support group for the first time, I was like, oh my gosh, this is what I've been missing all these years.
Yeah, and I know you and I talked about.
So anyhow, it's just been a wonderful experience. I see for them, because we're about 25 to 30 of us strong, and just being with them all the time, and just kind of being my new family. It's been a great experience.
And it's so powerful to have an organization like yours available for a multitude of reasons. But number one, the statistics are incredibly high that caregivers pass away before the person that they're caring for because of caregiver stress and burnout.
Yeah.
Now, one of your questions was to talk about some of the diseases that caregivers are it's subject of accumulating because they're caring for their loved one with Parkinson's. Talk to me a little bit about that, and what your advice is for anyone that's going through what you are personally going through.
So, because most of the time, the average age starts at 60 of the disease. So therefore, you may be in your later stage of life when this happens. And the first few years of Parkinson's, it's manageable. But as time goes on, as the disease progresses, the needs change. Mm-hmm. So in turn, you may be older, and then you have your own health issues. And of course, we know stress can sometimes, bring out other, conditions. And that's why we stress so much that the caregiver has to take time for themselves. They have to find it. I personally have hobbies. I'm an artist. So at home, I do that because I can be in the next room and I can be home. So it's like picking something that does help you keep that stress level down. Because it is different than other diseases. I don't, we have what we call plan A's and plan B's. And our plan B is about what happens if something happens to the caregiver. And we really enforce that. Say, okay, we have what's called If I Should Die Before I Wake. And it's actually for the family that if they had to come and they'd say, okay, well, we know that dad's got to take medicine at 7, 11, 3, and 7, like all those things, because what happens if something happens to us? And it's so important to have that in place. That's what's like giving a gift to your family and your loved ones, if you prepare for those type of things. But it's really make sure that we always tell the caregivers, take care of yourself, exercise. That's why here at Parkinson Place, we have the caregivers do the exercise. We open it up to them so that they stay strong and healthy too. We say, don't take them to the doctor, take yourself to the doctor, get that yearly exam, go to the dentist, do all those things that, you keep putting off because, I got to take care of my loved one first. It doesn't work that way, because if something happens to you, what's going to happen to them? So we just promote staying healthy and staying social, and find your niche in life that makes you happy, because if you're happier, than your body and your mind. You'll do better, and you'll be a better caregiver too.
Couldn't agree more with that. And you really hit the nail on the head. And I want to emphasize making that plan, not only making that plan with your loved one. If you do tour communities, if you need an emergency respite or something of that nature, you know, you need to talk to your family members about your plan. You need to tell them, hey, I've already talked to BrightStar. They have our contact information. We're on call for an emergency if it were to happen. Or there's this other community that we've looked at, and if something happens to me and I end up breaking my hip, this is where I want Dad to go. So it's just really important that you not only make that plan, but you also communicate that plan.
Exactly.
All right, Michael, you are up, my friend. So tell me what the difference between like an adult day center such as Town Square and maybe an assisted living community. What's the big difference?
Sure. Well, this is a concept that's as much about the guests that are going to come every day as it is about the caregivers, right? So this is going to be a place that folks can come, drop off their loved one early in the morning and pick them up at dinner time, and know that they're going to be around not only probably 100 other guests during the day, but dementia certified caregivers all day. And that when their loved ones come home at the end of the day, they will have been not just, you know, doing a puzzle in a themed space all day, but will have had real kind of Montessori-esque programming that we're implementing that will be different in every one of those storefronts that I mentioned throughout kind of this main street. So there's going to be very specific programming happening in the city hall, and every hour they'll kind of migrate from storefront to storefront, with caretakers kind of taking them through this day, where they can go spend time in the theater or in the diner, or they can go get PT/OT that's happening. There'll be music therapy happening. There'll probably be a music group there singing at some point. There'll be animal therapy taking place. So there's going to be a lot going on. So I think these caregivers not only are going to feel confident and not have any guilt when they drop their loved one off in the morning, but when they get them back at night, I think they'll know that they've been engaged all day. They're going to be tired, they're going to be worn out, and they will have so there's a year's worth of programming that's built out as a part of this. So the next year is all planned for programming, and it's very purpose-driven programming that's about really trying to engage people and give them purpose again, which is a lot of these folks might start to struggle with later on in life. And I think for caregivers to see them be able to get this on a daily basis at a place like Town Square, whether it's a day a week or 2 days a month, or whether it's 5 days a week, this is going to give caregivers that break that they might desperately need. Wendy has the other company, Care Patrol, where we're taking inbound calls from families struggling all around Sarasota every day. And, we hear the stories about these folks that are caring for loved ones with dementia that never get a break. Right? They're just being worn into the ground every day. Private duty nursing is a piece of the puzzle, and support groups and things are a piece of the puzzle. And we just feel like this is another piece of the puzzle for those folks that really want to keep, whether it be mom or a spouse or whoever it is, at home for as long as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know, like Susan talked about, sometimes the hours of her support groups up in New York were not conducive. Talk to me about the hours that you offer this respite opportunity at Town Square.
Yep. So to be clear, we're in construction right now. It's going to be in Palmer Ranch on Tamiami Trail. So our hours aren't set yet, but we expect it to be a full day. We expect it to be people that, maybe they're taking care of their mom or dad, and they do have to go to work for the day, and they can drop them off at 8 o'clock in the morning before they go to work and pick them up at 5:30 at night when they get home from work. That's the niche that we're going to be filling. I think it'll be Monday through Friday when we get started, but we also are realistic that we think families will probably push us to open on Saturdays as well, for other things, that another break that a caregiver could get other than maybe just work. So we would expect that at some point we're gonna be doing this on Saturdays as well.
Perfect. Thank you. All right, Lisa Marie, back to you. Talk to me a little bit about what a care plan is, how you assess people when you're going into the homes and match them up with that perfect person. Just some of the things that you do as an agency to protect the clients and make sure it's a good match.
Okay. Well, we send a registered nurse out to start every case, whether they're only looking for companion care, maybe just a couple hours a week. We always send a registered nurse. So they do a full assessment of the client, but we also do a safety assessment of the home. We kind of look to see what's their support structure. You know, is their family nearby? Do they have a spouse that they live with? Kind of what does their whole environment look like? So it's not only just assessing that person, but you know, the environment that they're in for safety and other meeting other needs that they have. And then the nurse develops a plan of care. With that plan of care, it specifically tells the caregiver what services the client's looking for, but also will give them tidbits of information for education, for safety, for notifying the office, things like that. So we work really hard. We also touch base with the doctors. If they have hospice in there, we'll call the hospice, talk to their nurse, make sure that we have care coordination there. If they have Medicare agency in there, they might be getting some nursing services or maybe therapy through one of the Medicare agencies. We call them, let them know, okay, we're in there. We have caregivers in there. A lot of times physical therapy, the therapist will leave, or even OT, they'll leave exercises or things that they want the client to do. We'll add that to our plan of care to make sure that the caregivers are reminding and encouraging them to do those exercises. So we really try to make that plan of care kind of wrap around for all services that they have, just to kind of make sure that we're keeping all of the care coordination together for that client.
Yeah, absolutely. And one other thing that's really important to seniors and to everyone when you're bringing someone into your home is to know what type of screening processes you do to make sure that your clients are protected. So talk to me a little bit about your hiring process and your screening process.
Well, we're a little unusual for most private duties because we are Joint Commission accredited. So I think we're the only Joint Commission private duty in Charlotte County, DeSoto County, and I think we're one of 2 or 3 in Sarasota County. So we live by much higher standards than most. All of our caregivers have at least 1 year of experience. We only hire certified home health aides or CNAs. We don't hire just companions or people that, even though we do provide just housekeeping services or transportation, we don't hire anyone that isn't a medical professional that has experience. We do the level 2 fingerprint, the national check. We do drug testing on them. They go through an orientation process where we competency on them on their skills. So they have to go through a lot of skills that we kind of check them off on, make sure that we feel confident that they have that core knowledge that they need to be able to be safe and provide the best care possible. They're also all bonded and insured through us. And that's the other thing that's a little bit confusing to people is a private duty agency versus a registry. So I don't know if you guys know the difference, because I'm finding even nurses and facilities and hospitals don't understand there's a difference. But with the registry, they're simply matching the person with the caregiver. There's no liability insurance. There's no plan of care. There's none of that. It's just a matter of them finding a caregiver and sending them in. And so with us, with an agency, there are employees, they're covered under us, they're bonded and insured. We do unannounced supervisory visits. So I think that's a little bit unusual too. The client will know we're coming, but the caregiver doesn't. So we pop in and just kind of check and see how things are going. And it's good to keep them on their toes a little bit. But the other thing that we do, part of that initial assessment, is we talk to the client a lot about what type of caregiver they would like, what kind of personality. Do they want someone that's really chatty and bubbly, or do they really want someone that's a little more quiet, that just kind of blends in the environment and gets things done that needs to be done? So we try really hard to match up not only the skill level that they need, but also personalities. And sometimes that's a little tricky, but we try really hard. I mean, we want it to be a win-win. We want the caregiver to really enjoy their shift. We want the client to be happy with the caregiver. We want that to be a really good match, so it's a long-term relationship. So that's really what we strive for. And then we have the RN oversight with every case. So the nurses go out every 60 to 90 days and do reassessments. We don't charge for that service. It's just part of what we do. But
No, that's great. Perfect answer, Lisa Marie. Thank you so much. All right, Susan, we're going to bounce back over to you. Now, at Parkinson's Place, you do provide not only support groups, but you provide education. And it's so important because there are constant changes with medications and different techniques. So, talk to me about the importance of education and maybe give me an example of some of the programs that you do there.
Sure. So, matter of fact, we do 65 classes a month of Zoom, but they're also all research-based for Parkinson's. So no matter what level that you are at, this is great exercise for you. And the instructors all teach to whatever level too. Mm-hmm. As far as education, once a week we have presentations, including Senior Blue Book. They have their presentation here with us. They're all by leading professionals that are relative to either Parkinson's or aging. And we find as caregivers that when we know about something, it's not as scary. And so we were like, okay, the more we learn, the calmer we are. So we know, like, okay, well, you know what? This is normal. Like, this is nothing like we have to run to, the hospital about. This is normal part of Parkinson's. And the more, then in turn, what a great way and a great conversation with your neurologist when you go. You're like, I just saw this presentation. This is a new drug that was, do you think this would work for them? Or this is the new technique. Would this be great for them too? So the power of education, besides being a caregiver, is what we try to, display at Parkinson Place to help everyone. So to go through this journey, because this journey can be challenging because of the different stages. So last week we actually had a virtual summit that had 6 leaders in just all different type of areas, from deep brain stimulation to PT, and what else do we have? We had communication, the communication breakdown, and just all different areas that you need to go through this disease. So we definitely promote, and again, it's just so helpful to the caregiver and to anybody living with the disease. The more you know about it, the stronger your knowledge is, and you can keep yourself, strong and healthy as long as possible.
Yeah, for sure. And I know exercise is so incredibly important with that disease process, and
Mm-hmm.
definitely something to got to keep moving, right?
Oh, yes.
All right, Michael, talk to me about some of the activities that you guys are going to have there. Is transportation something that you're going to be providing? Are meals provided for your participants? And what type of costs are we looking at for a service such as this?
Yep. So we do have a partnership in place already that will provide transportation for folks that need to get there and get home every day, which I think will be important for a lot of families. There will be meals that'll be provided. There'll be lunch that'll be provided every day. There'll be kind of a grab and go breakfast in the morning, but a more substantial lunch every day. Again, I think there's going to be, I think we have to, I think the concept for Town Square is going to be almost like thinking about your kids at school, kind of as they move kind of from classroom to classroom during the day. I think that's going to be happening with us. It's going to be happening with a caretaker kind of leading that group through their day.
Yeah.
And going back to the concept of the care plan, those care plans will be shared with us at Town Square, so that we're able to group people appropriately together for the day, right? So we got high functioning people, low functioning people, maybe people with Parkinson's, maybe people with some other dementias together, just to make sure that flow for the day is the way that it should be happening. But there's going to be, we're going to have a PT OT partnership. There's going to be a health center in there. So there'll be a PT OT health partnership that will be put in place there, so folks can get that done there. We're going to have exercise programs. The center of this thing will be a big, beautiful park with fake trees and lampposts and things with a lot of room. So we know there'll be exercise going on there every day. So we've already had groups reaching out to us that want to fulfill the exercise portion of that every day. There'll be music therapy and animal therapy and you know,
Sign me up.
I shared, listen, when we saw the one in California, and of course it's California and Florida, so Disney came up, right? But the way they described it out there is, hey, this is kind of Disneyland for seniors, right? It's very much, there's kind of older music going on and all the decorating that kind of takes place. It's a very transformative experience, but if it didn't come with real meaningful programming, it would kind of just be kind of a retro themed space that we know that it can be a lot more than that, and that it will be. So yeah, what else can I share? I mean, I think that's
Probably
that's
the
really
pay
it.
factor, Michael. I would say the pay factor. How much would something like this cost?
Yeah, I think the price point is going to be about $125 a day.
Okay.
So just so you understand, so ACA does regulate daycare, so we're going to be providing caretakers at a 6-to-1 ratio.
Sure.
So there's going to be a lot of caretakers there every day. We're going to have the ability to hold up to 100 people a day, so we could have 20 caretakers there, all dementia certified caretakers there. So there's going to be a lot of care. There's going to be meals. We're going to be able to handle the transportation piece as well. This is a private pay concept, right? For this franchise to work and for it to attract folks that really want to invest a lot of money in these big, beautiful buildings and renovate 12,000 square foot spaces, it takes a lot of money, which is not while there have been some good daycare programs that have been implemented, and we think a lot of the Friendship Center and places like this around town, this is kind of something different with a lot of money put into kind of, it's just giving us a lot of resources. It is going to be private pay centric. That being said, we will create scholarships and things for families that might be a tough price point for. We'll kind of figure out how to create some scholarships and things and make that work. But it's definitely a private pay concept. I think we think about home care. It has its certain price point, and this is going to be a different price point because it's going to be group care, right? And with the senior population exploding over the next 20 years, and even the dementia piece of that exploding at the same time, I think we're going to be a key piece of the puzzle moving forward. I think all of these are, but this opportunity to kind of have group care together and bring the price point down a little bit will be important for some folks.
Perfect. Well, it's definitely a needed service, and we're excited that you guys are bringing it to the Sarasota arena. Well, at this time, I think we're going to take some closing remarks from each of you, and then any of our viewers that have questions, put them in the chat and we will get them answered for you. So Lisa Marie, any closing remarks?
I think just if anyone's looking for any private duty home care, definitely give us a call. We talked a little bit about the respite, and that's one of the things that we see a lot is people that really need some help. And I was talking to listening to Susan talk about, what they see coming in and people really needing the care and not taking care of themselves.
Yeah.
That's one of the really big things that we see as well. So I would just say to people that are the caregiver, don't feel bad about asking for help, because you really should. And it gives you a chance to kind of recharge yourself. So when you come back, you're stronger and a better caregiver for that person. And we see that all the time where they just say, I tried so hard to do it myself, but I just couldn't. And they feel defeated, but don't feel defeated. Like, we're here to help you. We want to help you. We don't have minimums, so we can do anything from 1 hour up to 24/7.
Yeah.
So we even have clients that they'll just use us for a few hours every other day just so they can run to the store or go get their nails done or something like that. So don't be afraid to ask for help. We do free assessments as well. So if they're looking for someone to come out and just kind of meet with them and talk a little bit about services and kind of what it would look like for them, we can definitely do that. There's no fee for that. So just don't be afraid to reach out if you need help.
Closing words are ask for help. Don't be afraid to ask for help. That's probably what all of you will say. And that's what I would say too. But Susan, closing remarks?
Yeah, so please visit our website, parkinsonplace.org, and you can see all the great things we do here. And even when we open, because we're now in 32 states and 7 countries, which is pretty amazing that Zoom has brought us there. We're going to remain with Zoom and in person. So caregivers from all over the countries and can still remain, and we still can have that bond that we need, because we know, like I said before, if we're happier and we get the support, our life can be happier, and in turn, it'll make this journey a lot easier. So please join us. And if you know anybody that has Parkinson's, we're always here to help and answer any questions. This is one of those diseases, you're being it together, and you really can make a difference in everyone's lives. So,
yeah,
thanks.
it's so important to be with those like-minded people that are going through what you're going through. All right, Michael, closing remarks.
Well, it was very interesting. In January, we signed our lease for our space, and we hadn't started construction. And the Herald Tribune here in Sarasota did a huge article on our concept on the front page of the newspaper here in Sarasota, which was just absolutely mind-blowing to us that would happen, because we signed a lease. But it kind of told us that, the community, I think, is hungry for what we're potentially going to be able to provide to the community and to caregivers. And nothing worthwhile is easy. It has been a challenge to kind of work through the motions of building a high density senior daycare during a global pandemic. But construction is underway now, and by November we should be up and running, and we'll be taking memberships in the months before that. And we'll be reaching out kind of through lots of channels and digital and social media and things. So people will be able to find us, and we'd love to provide the help that caregivers are looking for.
Yeah, I can't wait to see it, Michael. Keep us posted. We will be doing some videos as we get closer, for sure. Well, I want to thank each and every one of you for your valued time this morning and for your partnership with Seniors Blue Book. We appreciate you so much, and getting this information out is truly my passion, and I know it is each and every one of yours as well. So thank you so much, and I hope you have a great morning.